Welcome to this next episode of Let's Talk Groups. I'm your host, Kerry Dobson, and I'm so excited for this conversation today. Kristen is my guest, and I'm going to start you off. Kristen, can you tell us who you are, who you work with, and maybe even a little bit about the group that you're here to talk about?
Absolutely. Thanks, Carrie. So I'm Kristen Tagliamonte. I'm a certified career management coach, and my coaching company is Empowered Results with KAT. And I started my own coaching practice about 8 years ago. After 30 years in HR, I just have a passion for helping people achieve their career goals, whatever that might look like. People have all kinds of career goals. And so I have been thinking a lot about retirement as a major piece of managing one's career. And I decided I want to do a group on empowered retirement to really help the population of people who are recently retired and maybe a little listless about what that looks like to them. So, anyway, I'm very excited that you invited me here to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, when you first told me the idea of the group, I was so excited because, you know, I have so many people in my life who are, that final 10 years of their career, and they spend a lot of time thinking about those 10 years of their career. And I'm always kind of curious about, well, what happens after? Like, what happens after the retirement party if you were somewhere that does retirement parties? And so I was so excited to get to know more about your group and to work with you on this group because I think in this day and age in particular, like retirement just looks so different and is a lot longer or can be a lot longer than what it used to be. So when you think about kind of empowered retirement as a whole, what is going on in that space, like the retirement space, and what are you hearing and noticing?
That's a great question. Um, and so a couple things. I have had one-on-one clients and coaching them around retirement, and I just talk with people about retirement, people I know who are contemplating retirement or have retired. So it's a topic for sure that a lot of people think about. But the thing that really kind of drew me to focusing on this in a group setting is whenever you think about retirement, right? When you maybe yourself think about retirement or you're having conversations with other people who are thinking about retirement, there's so much focus carry on financial planning aspect, which is absolutely a valid thing, right? And then not a lot of people talk about, but hey, you've had this successful 40-year career, you're used to some routine, you have real sense of every day you've got a purpose and what you're doing for work, you have your community. And then nobody really talks about all of a sudden one day, then you don't. And don't get me wrong, there are people who absolutely have a very clear idea about this is what retirement looks like for me, and good for them. There are also a lot of people who don't, and they may not even realize, Kerry, that they don't know what it looks like. They're excited, right? A lot of people get excited about, oh, I'm not this. This is great, right? I don't have to go to work. I don't have to whatever. Um, and then maybe like 6 months, a year into it, it's like okay, the honeymoon period is over, and now I'm like, hmm. So that's one reason that the people I talk to, people I know, just my 30-year career in human resources and knowing people in this situation. The other reason is this. It's a very practical reason, if you, truth be told. So these are US figures, right? So I know that there are people listening who maybe, aren't in the US, but I bet these figures are fairly similar globally. 15% of the current workforce, Carrie, are baby boomers, excuse me. Almost another 30% of the workforce are Gen X. That's over 40% of people in their 50s or older. So retirement isn't as far off for most of us as maybe, you thought when you first entered the workforce. So there is a real need. The people I talk to, they talk about, you know, I wish more people talked about this. I wish I had thought about it a little bit more. I wish this, I wish that. And again, not that I'm not happy with retirement, but there's just something that feels a little off.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the reasons I love that you've called it empowered retirement because, as we've been working on this group, you very much have set this up so that it's what people want out of their own retirement, right? So it's not that this is a cookie cutter. It's not that it's like, here's what you have to do, but it's a space where people get to explore and self-determine for themselves what do they want retirement to look like? What could it look like? And all that kind of stuff. So I love the title of it, and I just love the space that you're giving people for that exploration.
So yes, thank you for saying that so succinctly. And you even said it a little bit earlier, right? People are living longer. Maybe, your retirement phase of life is longer than it was for, say, your parents or your grandparents. And retirement now isn't what it was historically. There are plenty of people who choose to continue to work in just some different kind of capacity, or people are still vibrant and active in retirement now, and really want to be thoughtful about, so what does that look like now that I'm not working? Does it look like volunteering? Does it look like some kind of adventure? Does it look like part-time work or something else? So there are a lot of in the group, we're going to focus on, there's really like six key components that come into play. But to your point, you might only be grappling with two of those six components. Somebody else in the group with you might be grappling with two other ones. Somebody might be grappling with all six, and that's okay. It's really about what is your vision for your own empowered retirement. And then let's create a plan to help you achieve that vision.
Yeah, it's just so powerful, that idea of what it has always kind of felt like to me is, a space to slow things down a little, to like get a handle on things, but with all the support both from you and the other participants. And so you hear things and someone says something and it sparks something for you. So it's like you're creating this space for that exploration, and then you're not leaving it just at that exploration. There is a whole planning component about it so that as people are leaving the group, it's not like, well, I had this great vision. It truly is the plan. And so, can you tell me a little bit about that planning part and kind of what people will walk away with?
Definitely, definitely. And I do think I want to also comment though on something you were saying about um the group setting. We're talking about small group setting too, I should mention, right? Like no more than half dozen, maybe seven people. So, everybody has an opportunity to really participate to the degree that they want. But it's that not only are you benefiting from some coaching, from some resources, tools, ideas, you also have a community that is experiencing something similar as you are. And so that conversation and sharing of ideas, sharing of the struggle, that kind of thing really can create, it can alleviate some of the stress. that comes along with thinking about these things. So, to your question, I mean, there's the ultimate goal is to walk away from the group experience with a plan. So, a template for the plan that, we certainly don't start off with that because there's a lot that goes into it, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But the goal is to, walk away with this plan of specific ideas and even some ways that the participants are going to go ahead and act on those ideas. And maybe even while we're in the group, they start to act on those ideas, right? How do they get to the point where they feel like they can even, I mean, if you're joining this group, you're like, Kristen, if I knew how to set a plan, I wouldn't be joining your crew.
Totally.
So it's, first start by exploring where are you with these six challenges, right? So I'm sharing a workbook with you. In the sessions, we're talking about these six challenges. Where are you today with them? So again, you can customize this experience to your needs. And then what is it that is important to you? What are your core values? Because that's going to drive a lot of what that ultimate plan looks like. Some people are familiar with William Bridges, change model, transition model. Well, we're going to talk about that in the group because think about it, right? You have endings. So when it comes to retirement, your career that as you knew it is over. You have new beginnings. Okay. So here we are, new chapter in life, new beginnings. Then there's that messy middle. So where are you in that? So let's all be clear on that so we can help each other to kind of move in and out of the different phases. Exploring each of those six challenge areas. There's, like I said, a workbook, tools, resources I'm sharing with folks. The space. I think the key is the space to reflect. Intention, right? You probably hear this from a lot of the folks you work with at groups. It's an intentional time for you to really focus on this topic because without having that the group and the structure and the workbook and the community, you might have all the best intentions to be like, you know what, I really want to think about this. And then what happens? Something else comes up, life gets in the way. So the tools, the resources, the community, and most of all, a safe space to really be a little vulnerable about what's happening, to put some ideas out there without feeling like somebody's gonna be like, well, that's crazy, right? And again, some coaching. Everybody in the group gets a little bit of one-on-one time with me as part of the group. So really walking away with the confidence to know my retirement can look however I want it to look, to walk away with some tools, resources, a new community, and then the plan and feeling empowered to act on that plan. That was
I
a
love
really
it.
long answer. So,
No, no, but it was thorough and it really helped to kind of put all the pieces together, which I loved. I wanted to kind of ask a little bit about because you were really clear about the small and intimate group. And so what I'd love to know is why is having that kind of small intimate group, especially for this group, important to you? And like why is that something that is actually appealing and beneficial for your clients?
that's a really good question. Um, I don't know that I went about making that decision in a way that I was like, this is why I want it to be a small group. However, I think that just innately I know why that's special. Again, part of the value, part of what that, what you asked me, what are people going to get is that space and safe space to reflect and share. I think groups are a great way to learn. Um, I've been part of small groups, I've been part of large groups. And I think in smaller groups, there is more opportunity for every individual who's participating to participate as actively or not as they want, right? Nobody's forced to. You could, let's just say you were in my group, right? Like you could just attend each session and just be kind of listening and absorbing and reflecting and not really engaging with others. And that's okay because if you're getting what you need out of it, that's fine. But I also would want you, Carrie, if you were participating, to feel like, oh, Kristen just said okay, so we're closing, here's our next steps. And I didn't even have a chance to weigh in with a question I had or a thought I had. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yes, no, absolutely. And it's part of why I love small and intimate groups. For me it's that 6 to 16 is because people really can slow down, can make sure they get the support, and they really get to know the other people is the other part, right? It's like, over that, X number of weeks that you're in a group with them, you're seeing the same people, you're learning more about them, you're doing exercises and activities with them, and that's how you start developing those relationships. And for me, when I think about this, one of the biggest changes of that ending that you mentioned is so many of the people that you talk to every day keep their routine, right? Like they keep going to work. You're one of, or, the only or a few of that stopped. And so, what I love about this and kind of that small focus is these are people that you're going to be doing this group with that might be your people as you kind of go through retirement because the people who are around you day to day are still doing what you used to do.
Yes, yes, yes. So this is probably a good opportunity for me to just put a little more specificity actually to those. I've mentioned six challenges, six challenges. So, well, what are those six challenges? Well, one of them is a sense of community. So that's exactly what you're talking about. You know, is your existing, social circle community, are they also retired or are they not retired? Because if they're not retired, to your point, you're like, okay, this was going to be great. I was going to do all these things and I'm doing them by myself, right? Like, or whatever that is. Um, there's also a sense of purpose, right? There's a identity crisis. We so what do you do when you're working, when you're in your career, you're at events, social events or professional events or whatever, and what do people say? So what do you do, Carrie? Right? It's a super easy question to answer when you are out there, in your career. And then afterwards, it's like again, for some people, maybe it's simple, right? Like, oh, I'm a grandparent or I'm a whatever. But like as an individual, what's your identity and your purpose? The community I mentioned, the sense of fun and adventure. How are you spending your time? Maybe you had interests that you never had time to pursue. Maybe you have projects, right, that you really want to do, or you wanted to learn. Continuous learning is like learning is important as we grow older. It's always important. Huge advocate of learning. But it becomes even more important when we're growing older. So that's one of the challenges. Um, and then that what does work look like? And I use work in quotes every time I talk about this because work doesn't have to mean job or paid. It could be volunteering, it could be mentoring, it could be part-time work, it could be starting a consulting whatever it is. So there's all these different facets that again, each participant might be grappling with all of them, one of them, couple of them, but as they're sharing with each other, they start to realize, huh, I didn't really think that that was a challenge for me, but now I want to think about it.
Yeah. I love that. So I have one final question around this, and then I'm going to ask how people can find out more about it. But I'm curious about what the experience has been like for you in terms of bringing this group together. So if someone's listening and they're contemplating a group, or they maybe have had a group and it, didn't turn out quite like they wanted, what have you learned along the way, and what has your experience been as you've brought this group together?
I love that you asked me that because it gives me an opportunity, Carrie, to let all of your listeners know what a great experience it has been and continues to be to partner with you on launching this group. And I'm not saying that I'm not blowing smoke. I mean, I have run groups in the past, and let me tell you something. The approach that you've given me and the things that you've given me to think about um, in the way that you've had me think about, I think has made this a really exciting experience. At the end of the day, I'm doing this because I want to support people who are recently, past 1 to 3 years retired, but I'm also doing it because we love this topic. I mean, it's about my clients, but it's also super fun for me as a coach, as opposed to coaching the person who just lost their job. And that they're important too, but this is fun. And so, what am I getting out of it? I'm energized by the work. I feel more in control of the ultimate product that will be out there. I think there's a lot more clarity for people considering the group or joining the group about what it is. So thank
Awesome.
you for all of that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so if people are listening and they're thinking, this empowered retirement is something I'm interested in, or I know someone who might be interested in, what is their best next steps to find out more and to be in connection with you?
So good question. So there's a couple of ways. There's a retirement services page on my website, which is Empowered Results with KAT.com. And if there's a way for me to share that link with your listeners,
We
I'd,
will.
I'd be happy to do so. People can schedule a free call with me. I offer free discovery calls. Somebody wants to learn more. That's a great way. And last but not least, I just released a limited private podcast, five series podcast on this topic. And people can access that via my retirement services page on my website.
Awesome. Well, Kristen, thank you so much for joining us today, for coming to talk about your empowered retirement group. I really appreciate you coming and sharing all that you've shared with us today. So thank you.
You are welcome and thank you. It was my pleasure.